Now, are you posting it in yours or is it going
I'm
to be on the?
we already live.
Are we already live?
Yeah, it's already live on the Barbershop 918 Facebook page.
See how he just did that to us,
That's
Jay?
what
We
I
don't even.
do. I do
Are
what
we
I do.
live? Are we live?
J.O.
We have a guest on the show, Jay. What's happening, bro?
Where's your hand at, Jay?
Uh,
That's a good question.
man, right here, man, with my young OG, JoJo. What's up, baby boy? What's up? What's up?
Hey man, did you know up here they call JoJo's? That's the name for potato wedges. You go to the store,
Wow.
yeah, you get like some wings and JoJo's. Weirdest thing. I'm like, I said potato wedges. The dude corrected me. He's like, you mean JoJo's? I'm like, no, I mean potato wedges.
I didn't
And
know we was going to bring our pets. I would have brought the Siberian Husky in here. Zeus. Strong name.
is it strong?
Jay, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing?
Zeus.
Yeah, that's a strong name, ain't it?
It ain't.
Zeus.
It ain't really. Yeah, because hood dogs always got names like King and Zeus and
Yeah.
it's good strong.
He's a hood dog. Ain't no doubt about it.
The hood of Broken Arrow. Yes.
Oh, see why? Why you gotta throw that out there like that?
I'm just saying, your dog ain't never been loose a day in his life. Got a collar.
Hey, man,
Ain't never had no hood.
2018 hood dog, man.
Your
Not
dog.
1975.
Your dog ain't never had table food.
He eats the best of Rachel Roy's.
Yeah.
He actually does.
I knew it.
He actually does. And what's wrong with that, man?
Hey,
Okay.
it's nothing. JoJo eat Rachel Roy's as well.
I can't have a dog, man, because I'm still of the mindset that when we done with our chicken bones, there you go. And
Man, them chicken bones will kill a dog. You know that, right?
So they say now. Didn't
It
kill.
will, man.
It didn't kill King or Smokey or any of the dogs from the 80s that we had.
They don't make dogs like that no more, bro.
My dog could back in the day, my dog could handle it. Matter of fact, we came home with Churches, he was just as excited because he knew he was gonna get some bones.
Did he get a honey clump?
Nah, I ain't trying to kill a dog. Now that'll kill a dog.
Kill him.
That'll kill.
You better give him some strawberry soda when you get that honey clump in there, right?
All right.
Let's start the show, baby.
And welcome into the Barbershop 918. You up in here with your man, Big Drew.
Big Drew.
J-Rock.
Boom.
And the one and only Raw Dog. All right, we got a jam-packed show for you today.
Pack the jam, baby.
And a little bit of crazy. So coming up in the music news, of course, we're going to talk about the box office numbers as well as a little bit of Kanye. We got some TV news coming your way, and all that comes in the word on the street. We got NBA talk. It's time for us to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder and the season that we had. What did you expect? What did you expect? So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. We're also going to touch a little bit on some of the draft highlights, some of the names that went different places. And, of course, we got a world famous final cut as for right now. Hold on.
It's coming, bro.
As for right now, it's time for the word on the street.
Word on the street. It's the sweet one. Why do I not have a deal? Why do I not have a deal, sir?
Ooh.
I need a deal right now. I want a deal like Kanye so I can talk crazy stuff.
That boy is talented. All right, the word, like I explained earlier, the word on the street is when we talk about what's going on around television, movies, as well as music. J-Rock, give him what you got, boss.
All right, the Billboard Top 200 this week, coming in at number 10 is the Black Panther soundtrack. It's been holding strong for the last 4 months. Coming in at number 7, Migos Culture 2. Coming in at number 2, Cooking Like Stir Fry. Coming in at number 2, we got Cardi B with Invasion of Privacy. And the number 1 album this week, selling over 400,000 copies, J. Cole, K.O.D., number 1 album in America right now.
Now, we discussed this. We don't know what K.O.D. actually means, right? It means several things, apparently.
King of Diamonds.
That's what I thought it meant.
Kid on Drug. What did you say it was, Drew?
Killing our donuts.
Killing our donuts.
Now,
Killing our dreams.
Killing our demon.
dreams.
Yeah, it could be a lot of different things.
I've heard some of the album, and I will say this: I love J. Cole's wordplay. All the beats kind of sound alike because I think he's the one he does his own production. So he probably needs to bring in some other guys to do his beats and let him roll on it because some of the beats are starting to sound alike. But dude's very creative with his wordplay. He's a lyrical god.
All right.
Okay. All right. Yeah. He's good.
Hold on. So you see where Jay's slightly offended that you crossed over into the Blue Magic Hour and start giving album reviews.
Oh,
that's why I was silent.
Is that why he looking all crazy about his face?
I'm gonna mention Blue Magic 3 more times.
No, man.
When will I learn, man?
Look,
I'm sorry.
JoJo
man.
looked up at him like, "Hey, you gonna let him talk to you like that? You gonna just let them talk about the Blue Magic?" All right. So, what else you got, Jay?
I mean, everybody's been talking about it over the last couple of days. Kanye West, he had 2 interviews yesterday. One with Charlamagne the God, and then one with TMZ. I haven't listened to either of the interviews. You know, they're supposed to be over 2 hours long, but he was talking about slavery on there. So I don't know if you guys have listened to the interviews and know more, you know, can give a little detail about it.
The brother from TMZ, Van Lathan, said pretty much everything that Black America wants to say to Kanye. I just wish this Negro would go sit down somewhere, get some meds, and get his life together, man. Because apparently dude's not quite right up here. I kind of get what Kanye's trying to say. He ain't got the mental capacity to say it right. So he's saying stuff backwards and forwards. I just wish he just make music, man. Just like shut up and make. I know you got an album coming up, and I know all this is really, you know, so people can talk about you again and they can go buy your album. But what's gonna happen is you're gonna end up backfiring. People are gonna stop buying your stuff.
I think
because your mouth is overshadowing your artistry.
This is how mainstream society felt about the NFL players, basically. The way we're describing Kanye, we're saying, just shut up and make music. We're basically telling him he can't say what he wants to say and he doesn't have a free will.
He can say what he want to say. He just ain't making no sense.
Yeah. Well, you know, protesting the flag don't make sense to some people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things where it doesn't make sense, and I get it. I'm not taking his side.
No, you're taking Kanye's side. That's what it sounds like, Drew.
No, well, I like the idea of the free thinking. I like, once again, like I told you, I do not agree that he said it the right way. And I believe that that's in part not having the capacity right now to say it that way. But it amazes me how quickly so many hundreds of memes were able to just come out right away. It's so many things about this whole situation that it's just like, why do we hop on this so quickly? Like, well, you know, like this whole situation is kind of an odd thing. I know it's about selling albums at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, it is.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. He has free speech, man. Kanye can think and say whatever he wants. But there are consequences and repercussions to whatever he has to say, because there's millions and millions of young black men in particular that looked up to Ye. Has looked up to Ye since College Dropout, you know? So Ye can say whatever he wants and he can think whatever he wants, but he has to understand that what he says has power because of where he is, because of where he's elevated, you know? He has the bully pulpit. And when he says stuff that doesn't make sense, when he says stuff like slavery was a choice, he just plays into those folks who would not look out for our best interest. I ain't gonna say no names, but it rhymes with hump. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. And I agree with that.
Honeyclump.
Yeah. Donald Honeyclump.
Yeah, no, I understand. I 100% agree with what you're saying. Like, I get it. Like, that part's not up for debate. It is that he does have the power. His words have more power than the average person. But with that, it's about the perception, is how we choose to perceive it. We have to be very careful of how we take this in as a people. Like, the dismissive approach, the approach of how we respond to him also has just the equal amount of power of how the next person is able to speak up, or if they will or won't speak up, if they have something that goes against the grain. I'm not saying whether his content is right or not. I do think we need to take this opportunity to kind of be careful and think about how are we responding to our people? Are we
okay? Well, Drew, you saying everybody should be careful how to respond, then maybe people should be careful about what they say.
Well, everyone, see, at the end of the day, I'm not saying don't be. Like I said, I agree with the platform you're coming from. Like, I agree that you have to be careful with what you say, but we have a responsibility not to be mindless sheep on how we receive things also. And so it's just this instant, like, bum rush. Okay, he's saying some things, not going to process it, not going to think about it, not even going to try to help him. I'm just going to blame this side and say it's got to be them. It's more than likely than the outward influence. It was something in there that was triggered. So I'm thinking maybe some of the things that he's going through, there are other African Americans and other people who processed those thoughts who just didn't have that platform. And maybe we should start discussing some of these things privately, or like we're doing now, opposed to the public shaming of just like, yo, he crazy, sit in the corner, do this. Because I can promise you this, I'm okay with me and you saying Kanye go sit in the corner and make music, but let somebody else that don't quite look like us say it, we probably going to be up at arms. At least I know I'm going to feel some kind of way inside.
So you don't think mental health plays a part in this at all?
I think it does, but I think how we treat mental health is a huge part. Being a person who's had my own dealings with mental health on a personal level and who's had the pleasure of treating people and helping people through their mental health issues, being on both ends of it, I do know that the voice has to be heard and cannot be shamed. You shame it, you drive it further into the hole. And so
I don't think anyone's shaming it. They're just disagreeing with it.
Have you not been on the internet?
Okay, Black Twitter shames everybody. You can't control Black Twitter. But I have seen comments on Twitter outside of all the noise where they, just like the gentleman Van on TMZ, the way he came at Kanye wasn't out of anger. He was just telling him, hey, man, I'm just let down by what you're saying because this, that, and that. The way he did it was basically what a lot of us want to say. Yeah, we're not saying, yay, go sit down, shut up, blah, blah. We're saying, yay, think about what you're saying, bro. Think about where are you coming from with all this. Yeah. Have you seen Van's response?
No, I've watched it. So like I've been responsible to look at the whole scope of the thing. And like I said, I'm just kind of like, I'm in between of just recognizing, and Jay's dog is distracting me because it's just adorable what he's doing right now. But
is he laying against Jay's stomach?
But yeah, he is. That's why I said it's just adorable. But no, this is why you don't get cats, because cats don't do that. Only weirdos get cats, because dogs do cute stuff like that, man.
Oh my God!
But no, I think, and that's just what I do on this show anyway. Like I always want to be an advocate for the other side, even if I don't have like there's no personal attachment to it one way or another. This is just me wanting to say, yo, as a community, we always have a responsibility, and one of us has to be the one who's gonna sometimes have to advocate for the other side of the thought, just to say, because you can never dismiss the other side. You always have to be able to take an objective look in order to be able to know where you stand.
That way, you can't be disappointed.
Oh, and I think all of us are disappointed in the way that it was carried out. But at the end of the day, we got our own decisions to make on how we take it.
He's got to come back around. He's got to deal with us because we're the reason why he's where he is. At the end of the day, you can be a free thinker all you want to, but you're a millionaire because of us. Okay? Wasn't them, it was us. We all bought College Dropout before any of them knew who you were, sir.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you gotta come back around.
And speaking of come back around, I heard that Black Panther jumped up a little bit in the box office report, but I ain't trying to tell your business. It's time for the box office report with my man Rob.
All right, look at you, man. Look at you. Somebody been reading.
Go ahead,
Drew.
You don't have to read a box office report. It's not like it's a chart.
What you looking at charts up for, man?
It was just, I don't know. I clicked on the story. This was I went to go see Infinity War, and we can talk about this. We'll talk about it later.
Right, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so as Drew, serendipity. I can't even say the word.
Serendipity.
Ser- I tried, man. As Drew said, Black Panther is back in the top 5 at number 5. It brought in 4.7 million. Number 4 is the Rock. Dwight, what's his name? Dwayne Johnson. Rampage. Last week it was number 2, fell to number 4, with 7.2 million. Number 3, it was number 3 last week. Number 3 this week. I Feel Pretty with Amy Schumer. Number 2 is that thriller I was talking about, A Quiet Place. Made 11 million. Now look at this. A Quiet Place is number 2 and it made 11 million. Avengers: Infinity War is the number 1. It made 257 million.
Man,
257 million in just one weekend, bro. That's a lot of money, man. So yeah, that is our box office chumps for the week. Now, because of the monster that is the Avengers: Infinity War. By the way, I'm gonna go check it out this Friday. I know. Yeah. Huh?
That's so disappointing, man. I'm not gonna throw any spoiler.
Please don't, because I've been trying to avoid.
Then you ain't been on the internet, man. Like everything is hilarious. Like I've even posted somewhat of a spoiler.
The memes.
The memes are great.
I've been taking care not to see any of them, bro.
Yeah.
So because of the monster that is Infinity War, there hasn't before Infinity and after. There's not a lot of big movies coming out. The only movie that's worth even mentioning, only because I like the original movie, is a movie called. It's a remake of Overboard.
Oh, really? Like you talking about the Kurt Russell movie?
Yeah. Well, Kurt
Are you
Russell
serious?
Yeah.
We still watch that when it comes on in this house.
It's a good movie,
yes.
Man. It's underrated. Well, they remade it and they switched the genders. Now it's the guy who's the rich person and it's the girl who's poor, and they end up bringing him into the family. So and it's starring Anna Faris, who played in the Wayans Brothers movies, you know.
Yeah.
Scary movie.
Hey, man, I might go see that. Maybe.
Yeah, so that comes out this weekend. That's really the only movie worth mentioning, man, because right now it's all about an Infinity War. Everybody's been trying not to talk about it, but apparently it's if you're a comic book geek like me and Drew, it's literally a devastating movie, apparently. It's devastating on so many levels.
I mean, I cried a little bit. That's it. I mean, I wasn't in there like crying for a long time.
I ain't judging.
I am.
Shut up, Jay. Mr. Blue Magic. So anyway, I'm gonna go check it out this Friday, and that way we can all discuss it next week. And because I give everybody a chance to go see it.
Oh, thank you. You're so generous.
You said that you said it like you meant that, man.
I do. So it's time for us to shift on over into our favorite discussion, and that's television. There's always something good going on Atlanta. It's always something good going on. Like I've been watching The Last OG, and it's really forming out to be a pretty good show, man. I like it.
I can't catch it. What night does it come on?
It comes on Tuesday night. Really, I think it comes on at like 10:30 or something like that. I don't know what time Central, because our time
9:30 our time.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because everything's always kind of off. So yeah, you know how you grow up and you see them say something separate for West Coast time, and it don't affect you because you're in the Midwest. You don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's jacked
now
up.
You care,
yeah, now I care. It's like, when is 60 Minutes coming on again? Hold on.
At 3
a.m. What?
That don't make no sense.
But yeah, no.
I saw the last episode of Atlanta. First of all, it was pretty funny.
Yes.
It's pretty funny, but it was funny and sad all at the same time, because Ernest pretty much lost, like he loses in every episode. So he hooks Paperboy up with a free gig at this college, right? He said, man, if we get this gig, we might make $60,000 by doing all the hookups or whatever. And, so Paperboy, after that experience he had, in the woods, Paperboy's like, man, I gotta make my next move my best move. So he's already kind of thinking about firing Ernest anyway. Well, obviously things don't go right at the college. The girl that was hosting them had a strange crush on Paperboy, to the point that she said she had a dream that she was an animal, he was an animal, and she ate him. Yeah. So he was like, yeah, she crazy. And then there was a fight, and then they got chased, and then they ended up at a fraternity, a white fraternity, and they was looking for, some smoke, and they had it, and they was in the fraternity, and they had all these pledges with bags over their head and butt naked. And one of the dudes put on Laffy Taffy and had the the pledges do the Laffy Taffy dance butt naked in front of the boys. It was that kind of episode. And after that, Paperboy fired Ernest, right? So on the way home, Ernest, who didn't want Tracy there, Tracy's the big guy out of jail, decided, he's
security.
like,
Paperboy security.
Tracy was supposed to be the security, right? So Ernest didn't want him there, and Tracy was really the one that started everything. So Ernest is like, Tracy's talking crazy. He's like, man, stop the car. I want to kick Ernest's butt. They get up the car. He want to kick Tracy's butt, and Tracy just beat the heck out of Ern, man. And on top of that, after you get beat up, you don't want to get back in the car with the guy that just beat you up. But that's pretty much what happened. So I am looking forward to this episode coming up, man. It's been a great season. Great season, sir.
Yeah, 3 episodes left in the season. Like I said, I like Atlanta because all of the actors who are on the show, they all went to, like an acting school. It wasn't like, they've been typecast their whole career, like the Paperboy character, Tracy character, Lakeith's character. They all have, come from an acting.
It's Shakespeare, bro.
Yeah. So, like, seeing them play this, you really would think that they from the hood and everything, but they straight out of Yale acting school and all this stuff in New York, NYU. So they all have been in the game for a minute, just doing plays and everything. So, like Raw Dog said, Atlanta comes on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Central Time. If you haven't checked it out, going on demand. There's 3 episodes left in this season to check it out.
Absolutely, man. Great show. Great writing.
All right. So, anything else? We want to talk about Blackish?
Man, Blackish hit home. And did everybody watch it?
I didn't get a chance to see it, but talk about it. It's good. I'm about to.
Man.
Me and my wife.
Oh, it was a continuation of last week's episode with the issues between Bo and Dre, which I don't know if you don't care if I spoil it for you.
Go for it.
But Dre basically ends up leaving. They end up getting separated. And the way that it played out was so real. I really believe, and I agree with Jay on this because he said this on his Facebook. They Tracy Ellis Ross and can't remember his name.
Anthony Anderson.
They both deserve Emmys because that hit home. I recognize some of them arguments that they were having. Like, yeah, I done had a couple of those with my wife. You know what I mean? When things got a little rough. And they kept having flashbacks to when things were better. And the one thing they kept saying was like, how did we get here? How did we go from everything was great, we bought a house, we got all these kids, and everybody's happy, to now we can't even get along. And they left it open-ended. So we don't know what's going to happen in the next few episodes. And it shows how it affected everybody in the family. It was great writing. I'm glad that they did it the way they did it. Once again, man, Black excellence.
I believe Tracy Ellis Ross, she has directed the first 2 episodes. The next episode, it's like a trilogy, and she's directed those episodes.
Yeah, we said that last week.
Yeah.
Me and my pettiness. I'm sorry.
Why are you so petty, man?
I mean, some people didn't listen to the Raw Bar episode last week, so I was just repeating that, sir.
You could have left that out. He didn't have to say that, man.
Oh, like, hey.
I wouldn't have said nothing, bro.
Thank you, Captain Obvious. Man, you just come in. He didn't have to say that. After I already said that. So.
That's petty, man. Hey, Jay, that's petty. I would never do you like that, bro.
Yeah, you have done that. And so, speaking of things that are petty and we didn't have to say, this next topic is another one of those hood discussions that we have. And this one's a fun hood. It's a music hood discussion where we're talking about songs that we did not know the lyrics to, or we didn't know the right lyrics to, right? So what brought this up for me is I'm in the car with my son, and a song called Blinded by the Light came on. Now, I've listened to this song a million times. I cannot think of the band's name, but Basically,
The
the song.
Manfred Mann Band.
Yeah, that's
Manfred
what it is. Yeah. And it says, revved up like a deuce, another runner in the night. I always thought it said revved up like a feminine hygiene product. Yeah, douche. In the middle of the night. I don't know.
I thought it was.
Yeah, no, it's red. And I remember being at work once, and I said that to somebody, and it was like, nah. Like, like he thought I was joking, and he was like, man, you crazy. You always coming with the funny. I was like,
I was dead serious.
Yeah, I look it up, and I was like, oh. So there's a plethora of Michael McDonald songs where you may not get a chance to know what the lyrics quite say.
No.
Like Minute by Minute. I don't know all the...
I know Minute by Minute. I don't know the rest. All I hear is... That's all I hear.
So it's a lot...
You know what? There's a Michael Jackson song that I totally screwed up. It was you want to be starting something. Remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
From Thriller, right?
Now, be starting something.
Right. Now there's a part in the breakdown where Michael says, "Mama say, Mama samu makusa," right?
Yeah.
In my mind, I thought it said, "I'ma save my mama some applesauce."
Nah.
I'ma save my mama some applesauce.
I'ma save my mama some applesauce.
How did that make sense?
How does Mama say Mama samu makusa make sense? That's just some bull right there. I'ma save my mama some applesauce just made sense to me. And
Okay,
I got like that.
I got one from Remember the Time, the Dangerous album, Remember the Time.
Yeah, that was jam.
When he was like, you and me, I thought he said in spring, like, they were hanging out in spring. I didn't know he had said in Spain. What about?
Learning that?
Did he say in Spain?
I thought he said spring.
I thought he said spring too.
He said
don't say spring.
See, we're gonna make people go look it up. Like everything we say, people are gonna change. I got a much more simple one. Like this one's really simple. Golden Girls when you was little, and the heart attack would say "Thank you for being a friend" instead of the card attached. I think a lot of little kids thought that. At least a lot of little kids around my way thought that the song said, and the heart attack will say "Thank you for being."
And the heart attack would say, "Thank you for
being a friend."
That makes sense.
Once again,
you gonna have a crack about my apple juice?
Yo, apple juice, you was 40 when that song came out. I was 4 when Golden Girls was on. It's a difference there, man. Like,
I was waiting for it.
You knew it was coming.
You did an old joke in a while, Drew.
Last week, but I'm being petty by mentioning that. But I did crack an old joke last week. I do have a quote I have to make.
One of my homeboys, we were in a restaurant, man. He was singing The Barge, I Like It. And he sung a line, and we all looked at him and was like, yo, that's not right. Remember when Elle said, and I like those stylish clothes you wear?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's saying, and I like those stylish combs you wear. I was like, hold up, bro. Stylish combs? He's like, yeah, that's right? I was like, no. Well, first of all, where you going to find some stylish combs?
Oh.
I mean, where you going to find that at? And number two, that don't even make no sense. But he thought it was stylish combs. He's been singing it like that for years.
But I got one. I'm going to say Bone Thugs and Harmony, the first of the month, because it was 3 different versions. You had the TV version that BET and MTV played. Then you had the radio version. Then you had the album version. And they already... I didn't understand a word they were saying in the whole song. That's Bone Thugs.
Oh, just the whole
song. For the entire song.
So you didn't think it was saying something else. You just didn't understand it at all.
Yeah, and just threw in I Miss My Uncle Charles. Like, wrong song, but just threw in I Miss My Uncle Charles.
I miss my Uncle Charles, y'all. It's the first of the month.
That's the only line I know
wake
from
up,
Charles.
wake up.
I miss my Uncle Charles, y'all. You around Charles and y'all.
He do say Charles and y'all, right? Or is it something else?
No, it's Charles and y'all. Yeah. Now, of course, there's Good Times.
Yes, I was going to bring that. That's one I thought all of us would have. Dave Chappelle talked about this one.
So what is the line? Do we know what the line is? Because
the hanging in the child line?
The hanging in the child line. Is it really hanging in the child line?
Yeah.
Or is it something else?
I don't know.
Oh, so Sharon is waiting for you to make a move from work.
Words of French. Yeah.
Where's Sharon? Why she ain't watching us? She playing Words of French.
Rone Love.
I'm gonna talk about her, man.
Also, theme songs, the Wayans brothers. You know, that last line, I thought it was "Give me a hug, bruh." I didn't know it was "Give me a high five."
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, that one.
You got a hearing problem, Doc.
I really do. All that rap music over the years got me thinking things.
That don't even make no sense, man.
Yeah, there's a couple of songs I did not know the lyrics to. Like, it's a couple I can't even repeat now, so I ain't even gonna write it down. I mistake the words of "I Got Five" on it in multiple spots. And me and my wife dissected the song not too long ago and found out both of us had no clue, but both of us didn't know any of it. Anybody got it?
All of Brother Lynch Hung songs.
Oh yeah, I don't mistake any of Lynch's songs. No, I know all of Sebo and all of Lynch.
Yeah, I mean, we all jack up. Oh, there's another one that I messed up. I don't even know. This might be too old for y'all, man. Gladys Knight and the Pips. They had a song in the late 80s called Save the Overtime for Me. Y'all remember that song?
Yeah,
I know Drew probably do. I know.
I know of the song, yes.
Right. You know where she goes, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? Yeah. I thought she was saying, God will bring you up.
This is always amazing to like what we hear.
Wow.
Because and what's crazy is once you go back and listen to the song, if you repeat that, like we say what you thought it was, it'll sound like it.
No joke.
It sounded like it. I go, God will bring you up. And then I was thinking, wait a minute, it don't really go with the rest of the song. Because she said, don't wait too long. Don't let me wait too long. I'm like, why is she talking about God bringing her up? And she talking about some dude. I didn't get it. Then I realized it was all wrong. It was just bad. So there's a lot of songs out there that's like that.
It is a lot, man. We'd be interested if you guys to drop it when you're watching this. Drop your top 5 or how many other songs you can come up with that you just completely messed up the lyrics. Don't be ashamed. Put it out there. Let it be known what songs you have messed up before, all right?
I'm going to save my mama some applesauce.
Do that, please. It's time for us to get into our least favorite part, our least favorite segment. We're going to still talk about the NBA, but this is going to be our last real segment of Thunder Talk.
Oh, so, Jesus.
For a little while. We might talk a little bit about a few other different things that is free agency unravels. But it's the season's wrapped up. Word on the street is Billy Donovan's a shoe-in to be back again. No one's looking to replace him or anything. So
Sam Presti said that today during his presser.
Yeah. It's sad that, you got a bad coach when you have to address it. When you have to say that, that's an issue.
That's my point.
I like
you got to say, he's coming back,
yeah.
So just leave him alone.
Yeah.
That's my friend. Because that's really what it'll come down to. That's Sam's boy.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's like what Jesse said was my favorite thing when he was like, now I know what Bengals fans feel like. Because I feel like we're stuck with them too long.
Marvin Lewis.
But I always do challenge this then. It's like when it comes to you're going to fire a coach, it's the same thing we went through with Scott Brooks. If you're going to fire a coach, then who's next? Who are you going to bring in? Who could possibly be a replacement for Billy Donovan?
A seasoned coach that has won rings as maybe an assistant coach or something like that. Somebody that doesn't have a problem telling Russell to calm down. I need you to run this offense. Somebody that can harness his power for good.
So Thanos should be the coach then. So, never mind.
Oh, here you go.
So, I think there's two candidates which once again, this is an ignorant conversation because he's coming back. But I would say the only 2 coaches I would like to see is maybe Larry Brown or potentially Monty Williams. Those are the only 2 people I think that could do what you're talking about when it comes
to Doc Rivers? You don't think Doc Rivers could do it?
God, No, I mean, I think Doc could, if Doc had.
Or Mark, what's his name?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
It's the reason why Mark Jackson hasn't been a coach, hasn't been picked up as a coach in the last 5 years. Everybody keeps saying, he'd be the perfect coach for Russell. He sucked as a coach in Golden State. That's the reason why he's not a coach right now.
Though. He built that team, that, right?
Then they should hire him as a GM. Or our talent.
He didn't build that team. The GM picked up that team. He's the one that drafted Steph, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. Mark Jackson was just a figurehead. That's just like saying Scott Brooks built the Oklahoma City Thunder team, but he didn't. It was Sam Presti. It's a reason why Mark Jackson hasn't become a coach, because it's been a lot of openings. You would think that him being from New York, he would take the New York job.
Because he's a bad coach?
He's not good.
I think there's also there's player relation issues too, because Steph Curry has thrown him under the bus on several occasions. One, telling the story about Mark making him go to church to get healed. Then there's other issues where people said that Mark was unnecessarily aggressive with pushing an offensive scheme that wasn't working and wasn't relevant with the talent that they had, and then just being disrespectful to the front office. So apparently he's hard on the players. He's hard to deal with the front office. But these are all just rumors and speculation. However, the things we do know is that Mark Jackson was not prone, like he wasn't pro Steph Curry like they put it out there. He was more of an Ellis guy, and it was like, no, we're going Steph Curry. And that's part of, they say, some of the different reasons why they split there. So leave it up to Mark Jackson. It may not have been the actual team that we see now. It would have been a team that probably wouldn't be around.
Exactly. I mean, I felt like David Fizdale, the former Miami Heat assistant coach, and he was just with the Memphis Grizzlies. I feel like he would have been a good candidate for the Oklahoma City Thunder, because he's fairly young, he's a player's coach, and he knows his X's and O's. I mean, he was the brainchild behind those championships in Miami. I wouldn't say it was
LeBron.
I can't think of not Jim James.
Was it Eric
Spoelstra? Yeah, Spoelstra. Yeah.
No, he's a film room guy. Yeah.
How do we control Russell though, man? Because Russell's a talented player, but he's still there's some errors in his judgment late in games. He throws up too many bad shots. His basketball IQ is not where it needs to be.
I think the best thing that could happen for us, and because he's such a personality-driven, and it seems like he has these different ambitions according to, his goals are set in a somewhat selfish way. I think one of the best things that can happen for us is James Harden wins the championship. I think that type of pressure, I think he will mature into potentially changing some of the way. Because I think it's not, when I watch them play, it's not, they're not running an offense. They are running an offense. I think a big part of it runs through his decision making, and he doesn't have the full trust of his full unit. And I think it's because we run a flawed offense. You know what I'm saying? We run an offense. Who else has an offense where it's like, you don't need a shooting guard, period? You know what I'm saying? We don't, it's just the system. So I think if the system changes, Russ can mature. I don't think Russ is as bad as all of these people who just have a lot of haters just want to hate on him. And I know we're not Russ haters. I think he's not as bad. I think he's going to mature. Every player matures and learns to play a different part, but he needs a steady piece. If Paul George comes back and he knows Paul George is there, I think they work together. I think him and Andre and Paul work together. I think it's just a matter of telling Carmelo he's the bench or buyout.
Well, all right, Carmelo's not coming back. They're going to buy Carmelo out. Carmelo is just trash. I'll be very surprised if Paul George comes back. And that's going to put us back at square one like we were a couple of years ago. Basically a Russell Westbrook-led team where Russell only trusts himself. Russell have haters, but Russell's giving them a lot of reasons to hate him. The way his game. You know what I mean? It's a very self-centered game. I counted 6 times in a row during one game in the playoffs where Russell literally just dribbled up to the 3-point line and just shot the ball. Didn't pass it not one time. Just 6 times in a row. Didn't pass it to anybody.
I think sometimes I always challenge the notion that like he just does that to like check if you look, and we don't look at tape, but in most cases, if you're paying attention, he comes up and you'll see 4 or 5 passing lanes closed, or 4 or 5 or 3 other people didn't make it back up court. There's always a different reason for these shots. Now, do I think that they're, I believe they shouldn't, a lot of those shots he shouldn't take because he knows he's off and he's praying for a miracle. And I think that part is the quote, and we haven't used this word in a few years, is hero ball. I do think that is part of it. But it's still kind of just one of those things where I believe he can mature into the leader and into the role that he needs to mature into if given the right scheme, if given the right team around him. And it's just one other starting piece. That's all I think. And
I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. They're going to keep Donovan there. Donovan doesn't get any respect from Russell whatsoever. Any player that can wave off the coach going, no, I'm not coming out. Go ahead and just be over there and just stay over there and let me do my thing.
Kobe did it. LeBron does it.
That's not changing.
I mean, this
okay.
whole...
all right.
I mean, LeBron does it.
LeBron gets results, don't he?
Well, at the end of the day, when Russ is on the court, you can't argue that he doesn't get results. The team doesn't. The style is different, but it's not stat chasing when your team is when you got Paul George scoring 5 points. That's why you have to stay on the court. You have to wave a person off because we forget KD don't miss now, but KD missed back then, and so we forget that like Russ is still on the side of the ball where it's like sometimes he has to create offense. Now, I'm not saying that the method he goes about it looks good, but if you put anybody else in that position, they're going to do the exact same thing. If it would have been Russ leaving and KD stayed and KD would have had to stay, then what would you have had? Be honest with you, and I'm not trying to shift it, but to be honest with you, it's one of those things where it may not have been a fear of whether Russ was going to, I didn't want to play with Russ anymore. It could have been a fear of, well, what if Russ leaves? Because Russ could have left the next year or whatever. What if Russ leaves and then I have to leave these cats? And so people don't want to play with the Thunder's, the makeup of the Thunder team in general. There's no consistency from the bench. There's no consistency in those other role player positions. And it's
there's
not
no leadership.
Russ
is not a good leader.
Yeah.
He tries, but he's not there yet. Now, I'm not saying he won't get there.
I think he'll mature.
But I mean, his time is running short, man. At some point, he's at his prime right now.
Yeah.
At some point, that's gonna start going to the wayside. He's not gonna continue to be able to play like he played, just like Dwayne Wade, who won a ring by literally going into the mouth of the tiger every single time he had the ball. He realized he couldn't play like that forever. At some point, you got to change your game up,
Yeah.
And so
we're about 2 years off from that because you got to think about how Russ takes care of his body and why he's able to play at the level he's able to play. We're about 2 years off of Russ settling into a good spot, but he is more wise of a player than people want to give him credit. Like the way
he's wise as he used to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all relative, though.
Yeah,
that's all relative.
Yeah. So overall, go ahead, Jay?
No, I was gonna say, we say a lot about Russ and his character and his leadership and everything, but you got to admit, outside of him and LeBron James, nobody else in the NBA right now goes out start to finish and plays their butt off, from the start of the game to the end. Where, granted, Russ has taken 88 shots in the last 2 elimination games for OKC. But he's still fighting into the end. Take that last possession where Paul George didn't get the call on the 3-pointer. Yeah, Carmelo Anthony, who, to me, I feel like Sam Presti rolled the dice. When he got Paul George in, I feel like with the roster they had right there with Enes Kanter, Doug McDermott, they had a decent team where they would be able to compete. I felt like he felt he had to get more dogs for the fight in the West. I feel like that team that they had, granted the deficiencies that Enes Kanter had, but Kanter, he could bang down low. He wasn't an ISO player. You run pick and roll with him, he's going to lay it up, knock down the jumper. But we rolled the dice and we got Carmelo, and we got Carmelo two weeks before training camp. So they had already meshed things together with Paul George back in late June, early July. bringing in Carmelo at the end of the area before training camp, they kind of like messed up the flow of the team, and we seen that the entire season. Like they just couldn't get it together. They just couldn't get it right. We went through that stretch where we had the losing streak, then they finally got it. Then they went through a losing streak again, and then at the end of the season, they got it together to make it into a great spot in the playoffs. Like, Carmelo can go and say he sacrificed a lot and all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, but you still will not embrace the role of a bench player. That's the same thing that happened with Allen Iverson. Your pride is so high that you expect that you're going to be 2008, 2010 Carmelo Anthony your whole life, but you're not. And that's what hurt this team this year, because if Patrick Patterson would have started, we'd be talking about game one of the possibly Houston, and Oklahoma City right now, but we're not. We're talking about what needs to be done in the offseason. I don't think Paul George is coming back. Melo's going to probably get bought out, so we're going to be back at square one again.
I don't think Patrick Patterson would have made that big of a difference because he slowed down after that injury he had.
Yeah,
he wasn't the same.
Well, I think,
and you can use that same Iverson scenario with Russell. Russell plays a lot like how Iverson played. You know what I mean? And Iverson only went to the finals once.
And Russ may only go once.
And so, I mean, if Russell isn't careful, and if he doesn't start really looking at how he plays and his position on that team to be probably, if he really applied himself to be one of the best leaders in the NBA, he's going to go the route of Iverson.
It's a possibility. He is the people's champion that way. Like, people love Russ. They love his passion and how hard he plays. It's the same.
And the difference between Russ and LeBron is LeBron has gotten more results from that type of play than
I mean, I think there's a behavior. Like, when we start talking about player, we'll nitpick and say this player does this player does that. I think that there's a commonality. Like, there's a common thing that all great players do regardless of the results they've had. And it's not, right. And we can't dismiss that behavior because, he won a ring. It's a part of, like, there's being a champion, Russ is still one of those individuals that I think has the heart of a champion. It's just he didn't land in the right scenario. I think if he would have been placed in some of the, same scenarios that other people were, I think he would have a ring right now, If Russ would have jumped ship and said, hey, I'm going to join Golden State, he would have one. So, I think.
Hey man, I could have got Golden State naked. I would have got a ring. I hate bringing that whole thing up because that leads me to KD, right?
It does.
Why would you do that, Drew?
Entertainment. We are here to entertain.
I can't stand that PCA brother, man.
So, how would you rank the season overall? Would you give us a C, a B, a D? Like, where would you put this if you had to put a grade on it?
I think because I had high expectations, I would probably say like a D. Yeah. Because I expected a B at least. Yeah. And we only won one more game than we did the previous year. And we had potential. This was a potentially good team that just could not get it together, man. They just couldn't get it together.
Our playoff positioning, I felt like, was the result of grading on the curve. Like, we were really the 6th seed. But just because of the way the math works, we ended up being, seeded a whole lot higher. But at the end of the day, man, I just don't agree 100% with the way coaching. I believe there needs to be a shaking. They need to shake up the coaching staff. Things just need to be done differently all around. So I give it a low C, C minus. Nothing that makes me say I'm done. I'm back next year.
I mean, I'm not done with the Thunder. That's still my team, man. But the prospects of next year, with the fact that Carmelo may get bought out and that Paul George may not come back, it doesn't have me excited about next year, man, at all. What you looking at, bro?
So no, I think for me, it's the buyout thing. We're saying it, flipping like we're saying like it's something that's going to happen. But $20 million, like he would have to meet the Thunder somewhere right below the 20 million mark. And so
14, 15, something like that.
Or they can spread it out.
He said, is it 28 or 25 million that he said?
28.
It's 28 million.
And so you're talking Carmelo saying, okay, it's the end. He's not going to go. He would have to go in order to go somewhere else. at best, someone's going to give him 3 years, give him a 3-year, 12 million, 15, 16 million. So the buyout is going to have to be something where he at least is going to profit more than 28. And I don't know if his value can get him to where the Thunder is willing to take that off of their pay.
Well, he has a no trade clause, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, I'm talking about a buyout.
He waived it. Yeah.
Yes.
He waived it
In
to
order.
get to Oklahoma City.
Yeah. Right. So the only way, so for the buyout, he has to meet Oklahoma City in a pretty low place, and I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's more money. I think he's a smarter businessman. He'll wait it out because in his mind, he thinks he still has 5 years left. So if he has to wait out one more year in OKC, here's a man who just did a lot of years in New York and just didn't care that he was messing it up. So he'll sit on the bench. He'll do whatever. He'll get a faking injury. He'll do something. But he's not going to leave that money on the table.
No, I think they'll buy him out. I think they're either going to either Oklahoma City is just going to take the bad juice and just take that $28 million down to the head, or they're just going to spread it out over maybe 3 or 4 years.
Nah,
those are the options that's on the table right now.
Yeah. It affects their ability to then maybe even make a play for Paul George too. And so it all depends on.
That goes without saying though. That's going to happen either way, isn't it?
Well, I'll put to you like this. I don't think Paul George is looking at it like, Carmelo's got to go. He's not looking at an X and O's. He's looking at, will they give me a max, and am I comfortable taking the max here? Like, am I comfortable here? Because he knows he's max everywhere. So he's really looking at, am I comfortable here? And money-wise, whether Carmelo's there or not, I don't think is a big decision maker for Paul George. But he's probably moving on just out of space and opportunity. LA's just looking really good. I think a lot of it has to do with what LeBron and Kawhi Leonard is doing. That's the other thing. Kawhi Leonard now being in the mix changes a whole lot of the decision-making process for Carmelo and whether he stays. Or whether he pursues a buyout and goes for a lower number. It all depends on, it's a lot of different things because you're not worth as much when people can possibly trade and take on a lot to get a Kawhi. You're not worth as much when somebody could potentially, if they look at it and they say, I can make a play for LeBron. Paul George and Carmelo's kind of, they're not the number 1 and 2 people out there that people would be looking for.
Top 10, but not 1 or 2.
Carmelo's not even in the top, probably.
No, Carmelo was like top
40.
And he's number 35.
Yeah, and he has improved to be a good stretch. And with the talk of, I'm not coming to be on the bench, you got teams that would easily be like, all right, well, we're good then. Like, teams like saying it, if he's talking about winning a ring, he needs to be talking about sitting on the bench. But we already know that, though.
Does Dwayne Wade retire next year?
Hope so. I hope he does it right. I hope him and Haslam and
leave Miami. They're the kings of Miami.
Playing? Yeah, I think.
Yeah, he's still on their roster.
Both of them just need to walk away right now and just let that team grow and be what it's going to be. Because Whiteside has some growing up to do. I don't think Wade is going to leave quite yet. I think they're going to give Whiteside one more year to see how he develops and see if he changes his game. And if they change his game, they'll need that leadership to drive them deeper into the playoffs because they can go deeper if Whiteside changes his game. But at this point, Embiid has his number, and they're not going to be a force in the East. But if it looks like it, I think Wade comes back. But there's a handful of people like Wade, Nick Collison, Haslam. It's just time to go. You're not playing.
Ginobili, Tony Parker.
Ginobili, yeah. I think if Ginobili and Tony Parker make a quick announcement about, about being gone, I think that also changes the Kawhi Leonard narrative. Like that changes whether Kawhi just stays put at home because I think he really does have a desire to be more of a focus point. Yeah, he wants to, but I think he's willing to keep steady in San Antonio if he knows he's still the voice of the team and that Pop channels things through him. I don't think he's what the media makes him out to be when they say
Cleveland's still coming out the East.
You said what?
Y'all think Cleveland's still coming out the East?
Yeah.
I think it's just a magical thing, man. Like it's almost like I've never seen a player be able to will himself this way with the lack of talent around him. I'm not
LeBron wins the ring this year, y'all.
if you know,
Man, he's playing right now. LeBron is playing with a fire in his eyes I have not seen in a long time, yo.
yeah,
I watched his brother will the Cavaliers pass a really good Pacers team that really should have. The Pacers should have won that series, and they didn't.
I'm sorry, man. Steve Kerr is Thanos. Like he has too many he has too many pieces, man. Like it's not gonna end well. Like he.
Hasn't the Cavaliers beaten Golden State before?
They have, but it was a different makeup. I think
this team is horrible.
So don't see. That's the thing. Everybody try to make the Golden State Warriors like they're unstoppable. They are stoppable. They've been stoppable.
They have, but there's a difference.
If LeBron plays like he's playing right now, and that supporting cast around him continues to play and jump on LeBron's back, that's a dangerous team to play in the finals.
Raw dog, have you seen his supporting cast? His supporting cast is trash. LeBron carried that team by himself against the Pacers. This team, LeBron cannot carry this same team. This team is worse than the team that he had last year.
Far worse.
He had Kyrie Irving as his starting point guard. He has George Hill as his starting point guard.
So I remember a Laker team that had Gary Payton and Karl Malone and all these freaking stars, and they lost against the Detroit Pistons.
But
we don't remember that?
That Gary Payton was washed. That Karl Malone was washed. That Shaq was overweight. And Kobe Bryant, he was dealing with.
Kobe Bryant was what? Kobe Bryant was a superstar.
No, he was dealing with, what was going on in Colorado. But this Golden State team, they got the babyface assassin back last night.
I'm so tired of Jay just loving all the Golden State players. And when he is definitely a Golden State fan, has been for the past 2 or 3 years.
So
if they lose,
who should I root for? The Pelicans?
You don't root for nobody, dude.
No, this is a show. Oklahoma City's out of it, and we talking about the NBA playoffs. We gonna say we want everybody to lose?
No, that's stupid. That's not what I said. What I'm saying is, why do you think the Warriors so unstoppable? They are unstoppable. They are.
But I don't think anybody this year can stop them.
But
I totally disagree with that. And you know what? I'm glad this is being recorded because you guys are gonna be real surprised.
No, listen. I think
so. Everybody is.
No, listen. I'm not assuming that go. I'll put you like this. I believe Houston has a shot at beating Golden State. That's my honest belief. Okay. I think Houston can.
I agree with that.
I believe Houston has a shot. Then I believe that LeBron can will himself over an inexperienced Houston team. I don't believe the one-man show that LeBron has become during this playoff season, and he's going to be tired then because he's old.
That's what I'm saying.
He can't outwit. He can't outwit.
Come back to the finals. I really don't think they are.
Now,
I think Houston might actually beat them in a 7-game series.
Houston has a chance. I really honestly believe that. But I don't.
They got a good team this year, man.
But I don't believe that. I think that's the only way that LeBron wins. But here's the thing. Bottom line, it's still not a guarantee. I know everyone's saying that he's going to sweep Toronto. We still don't know that. No. We really still don't know that.
I don't think they're going to sweep Toronto. I think, regardless of whoever's in the West, as far as I'm concerned, something tells me LeBron's winning the ring this year. I really believe he is.
Another Eastern Conference ring. Bro.
Whatever.
No, Raw dog.
All I'm saying is this.
Name somebody else on that Cleveland Cavalier team.
Houston is going to beat Golden State. Golden State ain't coming back to the finals. And Houston is going to lose to LeBron in 7. That's how LeBron wins the ring. Now, I know that Jay has a problem with seeing anything but Golden State because that's all he sees. That and the little birds that go around his head is Golden State. But I don't think they're going back to the finals this year. I don't think that they are a strong enough team to do that. I think they're going to trip up. They're going to underestimate the Houston Rockets. Houston Rockets is a dang good team, man.
Here's the question, though. Here's the only question I have to that. How do they trip up? Because it's one thing to say it, but is there any proof of evidence that they're going to trip up? Is the Steph Curry
I don't have any proof of evidence. I just have a feeling that they're going to trip up this year. I just have a feeling that they're just going to assume they're just going to go to the finals. And that's how That's how teams get messed up. I don't have any proof. I don't have no X's and O's. I just got a feeling. And if I'm right, I just want y'all to remember this day. Because I think that's what's going on.
Okay, remember this. I have a feeling I'm going to win the lottery on Friday. I just have a feeling that my numbers that I have picked, I'm going to win the lottery on Friday.
Everybody think about you and your lottery tickets. That's 1 in a million. This is totally different.
Sing the song.
Okay? This is totally different. So when you and JoJo win the lottery, that's 1 in a million. LeBron beating a Houston team, them odds are a little bit better than your 1 in a million. So you can't even use that scenario. That's ridiculous, Jay. But I'm gonna let you have that though.
Who sings one of?
But I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna give you this, Raw Dog. The 2 top teams that Cleveland when they played these West Coast teams this season, they were dominated all 4 times by Houston and in Golden State. They're not gonna. It's the regular season, but Raw Dog.
It's regular season play. You know regular season.
No. You're not hearing what I'm saying. Cleveland, they got younger. George Hill, Larry Nance Jr., Jordan Clarkson never played in a playoff game. No experience. So they're gonna go up against a team who has the MVP. Or the Golden State Warriors, who will be playing in their 4th straight NBA Finals this season.
And the Cavaliers are winning 7. So
I don't know, man.
I'm calling it.
It will be a gentleman's sweeping 5 again. Okay.
Well, we'll see who's right, sir.
All right.
I feel pretty confident.
All right. So that's our NBA talk, gentlemen's discussion about the round ball. It's time for our world famous final cut. That's when we talk about what's really on our mind. We leave behind all the pettiness of arguing about other things.
Jay's still mad. Look at him. Look at him.
Out of here. Blue magic out. So
he ain't even smiling no more. Look at him.
Nah. Hey, when you know
you want to punch me in the face. Look at him. Hey Jay, you want
ah!
Hey, come on, Jay, man.
I love it.
Boy, stop that,
man. Is hilarious.
Don't be that way. Come on back, Jay. Come on back, man.
It's time for the final cut. Oh, man.
I'm back.
Go on, let's start the final cut, Jay.
It's all you, Jay.
All right. Last week, Dallas Cowboy tight end Jason Witten announced his retirement from the NFL. 15-year player, never missed a game. He's going to leave the Dallas Cowboys and get into broadcasting. Over the last couple of years as a Cowboy fan, it kind of makes me kind of sad.
Hey, hold on, Jay. Hey, hold on. Do you hear that, Raw Dog?
Yeah, the mic sounds kind of crazy.
Your mic's kind of messing up, man. We want to make sure what you're saying is golden because it sounds like you're talking about the Cowboys. See if you can make an adjustment.
It sounds real staticky.
Say something, Jay. Is he talking?
No.
What's up?
It still sounds the same.
That's weird.
It's very static.
You hear me?
Yeah, but it's kind of weird, man.
Sounds kind of weird. Sounds real staticky. Like your mic is going out.
Yeah. All right, try it now. Okay. Yeah, it's gone. All right, well, Raw Dog, you go and give it to us, and you go ahead and Jay will try again here in a second.
Well, we talked about this earlier in the show, man. Freedom of speech. I remember Ice-T, the famous West Coast rapper, had an album out back in the early 90s called Freedom of Speech. Just watch what you say. I think more than likely that is more apparent now than ever before. With social media ever present, everybody seems to have something to say, man. And in the name of freedom of speech, everybody has a right to say what they have to say. But people also have to understand that for everything that you say, somebody's going to have an opinion on it. So even though you got freedom of speech, and you have a right to have free thought, understand the consequences of what you're saying. Understand what level you're at, and what kind of influence that you have. And, really understand that, man. Understand the responsibility it takes to be on a platform and put some thought into what you have to say before you put it out there. Freedom of speech, just watch what you say. And for that, don't tell God about your big problems. Your problems got to be God. I'm out.
J Rock.
J Rock, building. Jason Witten announced his retirement from the Cowboys.
I'm sorry, Jay. I'm sorry, Jay. I'm sorry, boss. It's doing the same thing again. But here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pretend like I'm J Rock. So I think what Jay is trying to say is Jason Witten is retiring, and Jay is basically thanking Jason Witten for being a great professional. Never missed a game, never lost, never won, never lost. But basically, thank you for being as great as you.
One of the best tight ends in the game, right?
Yeah, right underneath 2 spots right underneath Tony Gonzalez. You got maybe Tony Gonzalez, Shannon Sharp, Kellen Winslow Jr.
The second.
Jason Witten. See if you can say something real quick, Jay.
Hello.
Perfect.
There it is.
All right, give it to us.
Yeah, Big Drew pretty much said what I was going to say about Jason Witten. I'm going to miss the guy. One of my favorite players of all time, because he came out every week like a warrior, played through so many injuries, and he just made his mark. He's going to be remembered as one of the greatest Cowboys of all time, man. Like I say every week, winners win, losers lose, and they all find a way to do what they do. My name is J Rock from the Barbershop 918, and I'm out.
All right, so somewhat along the lines of what we were talking about earlier. It's weird seeing Jay behind me like that when I'm doing my final cut. One of the things that, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, man. I love the idea of what we're able to get into when it comes to social media. But pay close attention to what you're doing. Pay close attention to how much media you're consuming and what's swaying your opinions, the way you see things, the way things are played out. Just be very careful on what you're a consumer of. Every now and then, put the phone down, and just go about your life and just enjoy your life and love your life with the people around you, and just soak in the sunshine, just soak in the life that is going on around you and not what you're being fed. Because trust me, this world will eat you up if you allow it. And so remember, hate can't drive out hate. Only love can do that. Thank you guys for listening to the Barbershop 918. Make sure you check us out at
www.thebarbershop918.com. Check it out. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. What else, Jay? Where else we at? Buzzsprout. If you ain't looking for it. What'd you say? Podcast. Everywhere, man. iTunes. Can't forget about iTunes. Are we still on iTunes?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You can find the archive of all of our old shows on all the things we're saying. Most of the new shows you're always going to find on YouTube and Facebook.
There you go. So, yeah, Barbershop 918. This is episode 102, baby.
2.
Still going strong. Just keep tuning in, man. And we love you guys. We appreciate y'all. To watch our little spirited debate. He's still my boys, even though we may disagree. That's America, right?
Always.
But we disagree, but we still boys. And that's what it's all about.
Well, that's all.
Barbershop 918, baby.
I think that's all Kanye was trying to say. He disagrees with Trump, but they still boys.
Freaking gay, man. There's always that one guy in your clique that does that. What gay does? You go, really, bro? Really? Did you take the conversation there, man?
Yeah.
This brother.
That's your cousin. Don't come around a lot.
Yeah.
And he read a lot, but he misconstrues what he reads.
Yeah.
That's gay.
Yeah.
Still love him though.
It's the season of the Hotep right now, man. Like everybody's got this half-cocked, opinion. They was going after. The Warrior fan. Jay's a Warrior fan. Now I'm catching up on what Chris wrote, but Yeah, man. Everybody's got that crazy opinion. Everybody's got that boy who's.
Man, I still love College Dropout. I think My Dark Fantasy was a classic. I think he's a genius.
Evil genius.
Yeah, I think he's a genius. You know, I just think that he's just working some stuff out, man.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Yep. All right. See you guys next week on the Barbershop 918.